All right, everybody, welcome to the Customer Support Executive Brain Trust After Party. We just finished up an hour and 15 minutes of peer-to-peer discussion. And one of the hottest topics, one of the biggest challenges that it seems customer support executives are facing right now are questions around how do you scale customer support? How do you do it today? How do you do it effectively? How do you do it efficiently? That was the most upvoted topic. So I have this wonderful panel in front of me. We're going to address that discussion right now. Maybe some of the insights that you received from our event today, but also some of the insights that you personally have from your own experience. So if you could introduce yourself when you come on for the first time, that would be fantastic. And I'm going to open it up. So what are some of the best practices? What are some of the things you've learned when it comes to scaling customer support teams? Dave, would you like to go first?
Sure. So Dave Anderson, Vice President of Customer Support with Whiteman. We're a telecom provider here in Ontario. One of the challenges we worked with was just that we brought support in-house, and then we've worked over the last 8 to 10 years just scaling that up. And so what we focused on was we were primarily phone channel first, and we wanted to expand that into how do we optimize the number of agents we have to capture the most customers. And then it's always this battle of efficiency versus numbers and battling it out. So what we focused on was things like having good collaboration tools so that the agents can get the information easily. We looked at then making things self-directed for the customer. So things like on our website, we have tutorials and videos and things like that. We then migrated into software-based. So we have apps that can do a scan of your internal network that allows them to guide them through talking to an agent. And then from there, we started looking at some of the other channels that are out there, email support. We've just dabbled into chat, things like that. So trying to hit the base, but also deal with those ebbs and flows. And it's always just building those different channels in a growth strategy so that you're not just opening it wide up. So for chat, for instance, we opened it up for just during 8 to 4. And that's where we're at right now, because we're trying to build that sort of reliance on moving from phone to chat. Mm-hmm. So by having it 8 to 4, it allows us to really get good at it, and then we'll expand it into the other hours.
Dave, could you share with us what are some of those collaborative tools that you use that you like?
Yeah, probably the best plug. I should probably be a spokesperson for them, but there's a company out of Australia called Atlassian, and they have a program called Confluence. That was a game changer for us. It really, we went with the server-based version initially because we had the servers here, so we're actually going to be migrating to cloud. But that really changed the game for us in that we allowed, so part of my envelope is the field operations group as well as the technical support group. So it allowed for us to create combined knowledge so that we didn't have one department having the same version of a document, but perhaps one was more up to date than others, or methods changed and everything else. So that was by far the single best collaboration tool, was that Confluence platform. Gave us an opportunity then to streamline the whole process. So you could sectionalize it out based on the departmental groups and create one document that you could collaboratively work on. And then you just reference that one document. So then if there was a change, you edit it once and everybody's got the most up-to-date information. So that by far was the best collaborative tool.
Excellent. Awesome. Who else wants to jump in with some of the best practices you found with scaling customer support?
I can jump in. My name is Johan Baltinester. I'm Vice President of Customer Support at Trilogy. And I want to start by prefacing and saying that I did do a lot of coaching and mentoring over the last decade. And what I found out is that the nemesis of goal setting is time management. And what I mean by that is that every time people go into some sort of a time management course, they come out of it, they know how to manage their time, but the minute the goals change, the time management went astray, and vice versa. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I believe that the question of scalability and how to achieve scalability cannot be disconnected from the other questions. Because the answer is, okay, well, if you want to have scalable, then you got to be flexible, hire the right people, teach them well, take care of them, and suddenly its flexibility, its system and process, its retention, its corporate culture, and its correct hiring. And I don't believe you can disassociate one out from the rest of them. You have to consider all of it put together. And yes, scalability might be where it hurts, but the answer to that is the combination of all five of them. So that's the flexibility that allows you to grow, the system and the processes that you're engaging with, what you do for retention, how you keep your people, but also how you hire them in the first place. And all of that put together needs to be contextualized with a corporate culture. Because if the corporate culture is rigid, then flexibility isn't going to work, right? So my answer to scalability is, figure out how you want to scale, know what you need. In other words, not what you need to do to scale, but how you want to scale, and build the company inside of that context.
This is Christian Brigg from Accusoft. And I kind of wanted to dovetail along to what you were saying. Is one of the challenges that I came into our support department all those years ago was we wanted a goal of being able to use that as a bridge into training into some of our senior engineering positions. So we focused early on training and hiring. We have created a great program to onboard people quickly, really focus on that, focus on the knowledge sharing, but in using the constraint of knowing that we're going to be hiring somebody and having them promoted in a year and a half is really helped us define how to really capture that knowledge sharing, how to find those efficiencies so that we aren't so that we can look at things like demand smoothing through documentation and user education programs, but really focusing the whole time on that learning environment for the support technician so that they're able to then cross-train and bring them in and make sure that they're successful so that when they're operating at a high efficiency, we have time to do things like work with the documentation team to make sure that we're doing some demand smoothing along those lines as well.
This is Abhijit. I am from HighSpot. I'm the global head of support at HighSpot. We are in a hyper growth mode and scaling support. When I think about it, I like to think about it in three broad categories: people, process, and product. So when it comes to people, obviously we are hiring, but then what do we do until we hire the right people? And the way we augment until then is a few ways. So one thing is we have our onboarding program where every new member into the post-sale customer-facing roles goes through an onboarding program, spends a little bit of time in support, and they develop the different skill sets within support. So that's one. We work with a local organization and source interns that work in support that can also then get a full-time offer in our organization. And lastly, we emphasize on ongoing training so that our technicians they're leveling up their technical knowledge and depth of skills. So that's the people. Next, we have the process, where we look for processes where we can automate and remove the manualness in the process. It also going in with a continuous improvement mindset of what else can we do, helps us scale our process as well. And lastly, the product, which is we look at what are the ways that we can proactively address support tickets, which is we take the insights from our top call drivers and then we go to the product team and challenge them to incorporate these so that there is a meaningful, immediate impact on the volume of support tickets, where the support tickets go down. So so these are the three big ways I think about scaling of support.
Excellent. Fantastic advice. I do if anyone has one last thing they'd like to say, Joe, looks like you were coming off mute. Step in and then we'll wrap up this panel.
Thanks, Paul. Lots of really great insights that have been shared. You know, the one other piece that that I would share that I don't think I heard yet is around prescriptive support based on the type of customer that you have. For some organizations, there's different roles, different types of customers that have different levels of need. Every customer needs to feel fully supported, but in order to truly scale to meet each of those customers is to ensure that you've identified what kind of customer you're talking to, identify their level of need, and then making sure that you have a team that has the appropriate depth of knowledge that can service that need. Otherwise, you might end up with, having a person who is spending too much time trying to explain something to a customer where you really need a higher level of support, or vice versa. And those are kind of hidden scalability challenges that you maybe don't see every day.
Excellent. This is excellent advice. I know this was a quick panel. I'm sure we could talk about this for hours. I want to thank you all for joining this. Our next event is going to be December 15th. I want to thank Y Meadows for putting this group and bringing this group together. But thank you all for coming, and we'll see you on December 15th.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, everyone.